like almost like like in Matrix, how Neo, they kind of download all this information and that he wakes up and he goes, I know Kung Fu. Like the Antler process to me was like, because after 2 months, okay, I know VCs, I know fundraising, like I actually had a pretty good understanding. I'm most of the times not the smartest person in a room, and yet you have a company that became a unicorn, that is $1 billion valuation.
I'm Magnus, the founder and CEO of Antler. We're in the Bayreuth now, and it's such a big pleasure to have you here, Bahadiru. We've obviously been working together for a long time now, and it's been amazing to see your journey. For everyone who's listening in, Airalo just became a unicorn leader in their industry, but it hasn't been a straight path. It's been hard work all the way to get there, and there's tremendous amount of potential going forward. So very excited to have you here, Bahadiru. You have an insane story, so look forward to hearing it.
Thank you, sir. I had a good year.
Can you start off perhaps sharing a little bit about your own journey?
Sure. I've been an entrepreneur. I guess I can say this since 19 years old. Just as long as I remember, I've been trying to do lifestyle businesses, the small businesses, building, failing many times. And I think the last business that I attempted, which was a global ship supply business, basically every ship that goes to ports globally, they need tomatoes, potatoes, drinks, just like us. But they need it for 25 sailors, and they need it usually for 2 months because they are doing all these voyages globally. And I built a small system which will track all the ships around the world via satellite through AIS, which is the satellite tracking system, and I will be tracking them automatically globally. And when they are coming closer to a port, that I have a warehouse network, as in if they are coming to a Turkish port or a Japanese port or a port in Brazil, the system will then automatically send a telex message to the ship captain saying that, hey captain, I see that you are coming to this port in Turkey or this port in Brazil or this port in China. Do you need anything? So the system will automatically ask the captain, and this is happening through telex system, satellite messaging. And once the captain replies back as in, yes, we are coming to Brazil and this is the list of products that we are going to need there, that's where I get in. And basically think of it like Uber Eats, but for ships. Cool. So I built this warehouse network all around the world. And once I get the order from the captains, I would then send the order to the warehouse in the port. They will supply the captain, and I will get a little 5% commission of it. So I did this globally, and this is pretty much how everything led to Airalo. Can we continue?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So every ship captain, once they got their tomatoes, potatoes, drinks, meats, everything they receive, they will ask me the same question. Wherever they are in the world, they will always say, do you have local SIM cards for us? So, we are in China, can you add local SIM cards because we need to stay connected, we need to call our families. And I realized wherever they go, and imagine 1.7 million sailors globally traveling the world, they all had this pain of connectivity.
Yeah.
And that's how the tomato business, in a sense, led me to understand that, okay, I might solve this problem because these people, these seafarers, they need to stay connected everywhere they go. And this is how I kind of became this accidental telecom guy, because I had to start reading about SIM cards, roaming, and how I can create a Google Fi, but just for the maritime industry. And this led me to build the business, which I called SIM for Crew. Basically, these were physical roaming SIM cards, global SIM cards that I would ship out to the same warehouses that gave the potatoes, tomatoes. But next time when a question of connectivity came from the ship, I would say, sure, I can arrange it because now I had a stock of global SIM cards that I created for this industry. And it was a good business. It was doing well for 2 years, 3 years. I would say they were selling like hotcakes. Every sailor that was asking for it, they were happily using these global SIM cards until Apple announced the shipment of the first eSIM compatible phones. This was 28 September 2018. I remember the date because I was very anxious. When I saw this eSIM compatible phones being shipped out, the first thing I thought was, and the funny thing is, most of the domain names that I bought about eSIMs, I bought on that day. I saw the announcement, I went to GoDaddy.com, and I bought every possible eSIM domain name I could buy because I thought, I'm going to do something about this. I don't know what yet, but this is going to disrupt my business. This is going to disrupt my global roaming business. And that's pretty much how everything led to the idea of building something related to eSIMs. So the why now was just perfect because you couldn't do a company like Airalo, even if you had billions of dollars in 2017, let's say. You had to wait for the hardware to be eSIM compatible, which is either Apple or Samsung that they announce eSIM compatible phones. And that happened on 2018, 28 September, the past day. So the why now, the timing was just perfect.
It was just a few months after that we met for the first time, which was incredible. And we're obviously very happy to be a small part of your journey. But we'd love for you to kind of share the story about how you first heard of Antler and how you ended up working with us.
Yeah. So until I found the idea of Airalo, I was always building lifestyle businesses. I was this small-time entrepreneur. But I would say I was lacking a lot of knowledge when it comes to startups, VCs. I didn't even know the terms like checks, LTVs, like they were very foreign to me. I was hustling my own way. I was buying something and selling something, but I really didn't really understand the idea of building a global business. And when I had the idea for eSIMs, I knew that this could be something big. I just didn't know where to start. And funny enough, I saw a post about Antler on LinkedIn. I was at the MRT in Singapore. I saw the post about you guys. I said, this sounds interesting. And because it was promising that, you have an idea or you may not have an idea, but if you believe that you are a good founder, come and join us and we will build this thing together. So I found it very interesting. And the timing was super perfect for me. I had the idea, but I didn't have the money. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. So I joined Antler, and Antler gracefully accepted. So I joined the Singapore cohort at Antler. And I would say that 2 months, that's why whenever anyone asks me, should I join Antler, I always say it's a no-brainer. And that's not because really I did it myself, but it's because I really saw how much of an impact I saw Antler having on entrepreneurs. And for me, for my case, I always say it was like a 2 months crash course MBA. I have learned so much in the 2 months of the Antler cohort, from go-to-market to fundraising to financials, like almost like, like in metrics, how Mio, they kind of download all this information and then he wakes up and he goes, I know Kung Fu. Like the Antler process to me was like, because after 2 months, I woke up and I say, okay, I know VCs, I know fundraising. Like I actually had a pretty good understanding of what I was missing during my years of entrepreneurship. And there was a lot of learning with Antler and I did the IC with Antler and got my very first pre-seed investment, which then helped me build the MVP, do my first fires, and we did the demo days, and the rest is history.
That was incredible. I remember that demo day, and I remember the IC as well. We were all incredibly excited. But I remember during the demo day, you were having a funeral for the SIM card, which I thought was a great way to get the message through to everyone. I think there's about 700 investors or so there at that day, and everyone I talked to still remember that it was the You're an amazing storyteller.
Right. I still have people with hammering that day saying I started using Airalo after demo day and they are still able customers. So it worked, it's a go-to-market thing. It worked.
And then you were off to the ropes, right? Like the revenue started growing, I think, rather quickly. And I think Sequoia came on board a few months later and you were on to tremendous journey. But then obviously something happened in early 2020, which had an effect on the travel space. COVID obviously affected your business model more than most. Perhaps talk a bit about how you dealt with.
Yeah.
Because I think most founders hit this wall in one way or another. And obviously this one was very unpredictable. Yeah. So I remember those times were tough to.
They were incredibly hard. When somebody asks, how old is Airalo, I don't say 6 years, I say 4 years because I don't count COVID years.
Yeah.
Because it almost just nothing existed in there. There was no revenue to business stop. So the thing about this is, and I have a little anecdote there. So we just raised the money from Sequoia, and we started spending it. And this was in 2019. And my idea of a Series A round was basically somewhere in 2020, June, July. That was my goal. So I was saying, okay, we have enough runway and I can start raising in 2020, July, 2020, August. That was the initial plan. But me being me, I think I made the mistake of spending on marketing in the wrong way. As in, people didn't know what eSIMs were, but instead of educating them, we were just trying to show what Airalo is. But again, because people didn't know what eSIMs were, constantly marketing Airalo wasn't working. We didn't see it back then. But one big mistake we did was we spent on marketing more than we should have. And one big mistake I did personally was, spending $10,000 on marketing, it's not working enough, probably I'm not spending enough. And then I will increase the trains, I will increase the church. Without solving the fundamental issue, we just thought marketing will help it. And these were very rookie mistakes, I would say, in our first year. So what happened was, the Sequoia money that we had, the $1.5 million, depleted way before I thought it would. So by the end of 2019, I realized, we're going to go wake up. We don't have enough money and we need to start raising now. So we started raising way earlier than I was anticipating because I did a lot of stupid spendings in the beginning, which led us amid Rakuten earlier than I expected, which basically meant that I started fundraising right before COVID. So the funny thing is, if I had enough money, I would be waiting until June, July. Yeah. Because I didn't have enough money, we had to raise that before COVID, and the conversations with Rakuten started. And when COVID started coming in, this was 2020, March, April, we closed our $5 million Series A. I think this helped us tremendously to go through COVID because our war chest was full.
Yeah.
Compared to anyone who were even thinking about starting a recent business. We were even people couldn't even consider going into a travel-related business.
Yeah.
On the other hand, as the first mover, we just have $5 million to go through COVID. I think that helped us a lot, to go through these times. But again, the something I learned, I guess, from that experience was, it's true that everything happens for a reason. I experienced it firsthand. You will think that spending, in a sense, wrong and losing more money than you anticipated earlier than your anticipated runway would lead to a disaster, which actually didn't for us. It led to us going to a fundraising earlier. We didn't know COVID was coming. And the timing, again, just were perfect for us. So yeah, that's how we went through COVID, which was really a tough time, by the way.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. And then going out of COVID, that you really started seeing the rapid growth, right? Yeah, tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, we used COVID. In Sufi philosophy, there's this concept which is called the cave month. Basically, scholars back in the day, they will go into a cave for 40 days and they will just a little bit drink, little bit water, and they will just think. They will be by themselves for 40 days alone in a cave, but when they get out of the cave, the idea was they come out with amazing ideas, they come out renewed, they come out reborn. And that's how I always saw our COVID times. The 3 years, I think it was our cave moment. it helped us go into kind of our cave, close ourselves down, and think about the features that are missing. Think about negotiating better rates with our telcos. Think about doing things that we would otherwise maybe have to rush. But this time we kind of had enough time to actually make a product that we were more happy with. So that was our cave moment. That darkness, in a sense, became our period of, making ourselves better. So when we got out of the cave, we got out reborn, and we got out with a really good product, with really good rates, with really good connectivity. And when borders started opening by the end of 2022, the product market fit we knew was already there. It's just that we didn't have enough time to see it because right after 3 months we built Airalo, COVID came. So we have actually seen, yes, the product market fit is there when borders started opening and what they call the revenge travel came. Yeah, we've seen incredible growth. I was not expecting it. I think nobody was expecting it. We started seeing literally millions of people signing up every month and using Airalo. The word of mouth was incredible. I remember this, our checks were so little.
I remember Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, he had a list of the top 10 things he couldn't live without, and Airalo is on it. And I think that's the power of
Those moments happened a lot. And people were using Airalo, they were going with their WhatsApp groups, and they were telling their friends. I had a CEO send me an email. She said, I'm CEO of a 450 people company. I used the Airalo overseas. I went back and I told that my company, everyone, this is our new official connectivity platform. No more roaming. So the word of mouth was incredibly powerful. I feel very blessed in that way that we didn't need to spend as stupid as I did back in the day, spending all money on Facebook and Google Ads and thinking that it's going to bring us revenue. What I realized was when the product just works, the rest just follows. Actually, this is something back in the day. Someone from Sequoia told me the sign of a unicorn, and I was always seeing the unicorn is a vague term, but the idea that a company will be successful is that you look at their reviews in App Store, Play Store, and everywhere, and if you see consistently this statement which just says, "This just works. It just works. It just works." This bit, I was very surprised because once I heard him say that, I started looking at our reviews, and there were so many times people said, "It just works. It works. It just works." I think so. That's a big sign for us that we were on the right path, I will say. And yeah, there was just an incredible product market fit, incredible virality. People were just telling their friends. And a couple of weeks ago, we passed 20 million customers using Airalo.
incredible. 20 million. Andrew, the early days when we first met, I was also on a lecture Singapore Management University in UK over, and we obviously focused a lot on supporting founders in the early days, but then over time now we also had the ability to work with and back founders for a long period of time.
Yep.
We also took part in the latest round that you guys have. So we'd love if you can share a little bit of everyone on how we've been helpful in those later years of your journey.
Yep. I think one thing I really like about, and I think I've praised this many times, is that once Antler is emotionally and financially invested in you, I don't think there was a single time in the last 5-6 years that I felt abandoned. And I think that is super important because it's not a crime if an investor doesn't check up on you. It's not a crime. Some investors, they like to stay quiet. They like to be behind the scenes. But something that I always liked about Antler is from day one. And here's the funny thing about Antler. I know people go for, and entrepreneurs go for fundraising and they keep knocking on doors. And I did the same. I kept knocking on doors. In every round, I kept knocking on doors. Every investment that I got, though, came from an introduction that came from Antler. So my pre-seed came from Antler. My pre-seed angels introductions came from Antler. My seeds introductions came from Antler. My Series A's introductions came from Antler. My Series B's introductions came from Antler. Was I knocking on every door, on every VC? Yes. I was being rejected, or, you know, there are a lot of conversations that we are going to follow up, we are going to see. But whenever a solid introduction came from Antler, that party invested in Airalo. I don't know the reason, but that's a pattern that I always saw. And that's probably one of the biggest things that Antler did for us. I always was again blessed to have a believing investor in every round that was introduced by Antler. That was one thing. And the other thing is, like, you see from our first days, early days, like I call him Sensei. He's been a super mentor since day one. Like I would talk to him in bad days, in good days, and this wasn't just in the pre-seed or seed stage, right? Like till today, we catch up and we always have conversations. And then Antler again, when we were doing our Series B round, Antler has the global fund, the Elevate fund, and again didn't leave us alone, and they actually wanted to participate. And again in this, last round, Hesse was again in the unicorn round. So the thing I like about Antler is they just won't let you go. Let you never feel abandoned for a while, whether it's mentorship, whether it's that you have a problem that you want to talk to someone about, or whether it's the financial follow-ups, whether it's introducing to an investor. There's something super tangible, super solid about Antler that I like, because I've seen many investors, I think like in the last 5-6 years, I've seen many investors. One thing I see the difference Antler and a lot of investors that, we never work with is the difference between how grounded and real Antler always is, and how much of it terminology or jargons are used by a lot of investors that, again, we never ended up working with. Like, Antler is very real in what they do, and I think that's what I do like about it. No jargons, no big words, no analyst buzzwords. It's very real talk. It's always very real talk, and I always appreciated this. And I always felt like, I have a big brother behind me, and I can always call them, I can always rely on them. And that feeling is still there. It was there when we were small. It was there when we were in the middle of COVID, making no revenue. And it's there when we are young. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
And obviously that's what we want to do, right? And we are also very privileged to be a part of the journey, right? It's been incredible to work with you and seeing you getting through very hard obstacles, but also managing scale in an incredible way. There are very few companies out there that make it to your level of revenue, 20 million customers, being loved by millions of people across the globe. How are you thinking about the next few years, and how are you dealing with now moving from a small outfit to being relied upon by millions of people across the globe?
I think one thing I like about our company culture is that we never bought into startup jargons. I always say this. Airalo always had a very grounded approach in everything we do. And like the way I always put this is, we will always have the vision of a unicorn, but we will have the metrics of a mom and pop shop, which means revenue matters, gross margins matter, EBITDA matters for the continuity of a healthy business, which is how most of the businesses out there work. You still have to respect those metrics. And we always did this with Airalo. We always had a very grounded approach, and we always had a very, I would say, humble approach as a team to what we are doing. And that's why we like to put it as common people putting out uncommon results. And that's a reality with Airalo. I mean, look at me. I'm a college dropout. I don't know many things. I can easily say that I don't know many things. I'm a generalist that knows a bit about some things, but I made peace with the fact that I most of the times not the smartest person in a row. And yet you have a company that became a unicorn, that is $1 billion valuation, that has 500 people, that has 20 million customers. Because what I really think happens with Airalo is that we've never been like hyper competitive tech bros that wants to eat the world. I don't know if this makes sense. Like we never wake up and think of it like, how can I kill another company today? How can I eat the world today? We never wake up like this. And that approach, I believe, is what makes Airalo so zen, if that makes sense, calm, because it's a bunch of common people putting out uncommon results. And we keep empathy at the core of our company. And why I'm sharing all this is when I look at the future of Airalo, I think we will continue to grow. We are working with a lot of good initiatives when it comes to direct to customers or indirectly. What I mean by this is that my dream with Airalo is one day a gigabyte is being used by a customer somewhere. I hope it comes from Airalo, directly or indirectly. A traveler is using a 1 gigabyte, whether they got it directly from Airalo, or they got it from a fintech app or an OTA, or from an airline, or from a mom and papa shop at the airport. I'm hoping it comes from a system and infrastructure that is built by Airalo in that sense. But are we losing our sleeps over this? No. What I mean by this is that if you have any good enough market share, and if I can put food on the tables and serve our customers really well, millions of customers happily connected, and if you're a competitor doing the same things, putting food on the table for everyone and serving their customers happily, I think it's a good enough word. I think it's a happy word. And it's a less anxious word. And I like less anxious words. I like the words where I don't need to wake up trying to eat the word. I wake up and I feel like we did good today. They did good today. And we are all acting, me or the competitors. We keep the morals intact. That's very important, There is no lack of ethics. There is no lack of morals. It's almost like a gentleman's game. And then it's a market share game. Customers like your product, use your product. They like our product, they like our product. But that's how I put it. So what is my dream with Airalo in the future? To grow the company, to serve our employees really well. I think empathy is always at the core of what we do. To serve the customers really well, and hopefully to satisfy the investors, and just create, a world where we are very content with what we do. Continue serving millions of travelers. Today is 20 million people. Keep in mind there are 1.2 billion travelers globally. These are people spending too much money on roaming. These are people wasting time at the airport buying a SIM card. These are silent roamers who don't even touch their phones because they are afraid of headshots. So my goal is, I guess, I'd like to unify connectivity in a sense that it's now convenient and affordable. And just make it a very subtle and easy. Just make it very subtle and easy to stay connected globally. Not as cumbersome as it is today.
Obviously, we continue to work with great founders every year, and there's a bunch of them we started working with this year. What would you give them as advice as they're getting started on their journey, right? Any pieces of wisdom you did that it's important for them to think through, because it's a pivotal moment of their life where everyone goes all in on so many important problems, and we all know that nobody has a straight path.
There's no size that fits all, but I guess what worked for me, or what I put there, I'm not saying this is the best way or this is the right way, but it's a way. I think one thing that a common mistake I also saw with myself, I think one thing I can advise entrepreneurs from the beginning is that your story is not unique. So I think what will be really helpful for yourself to start with is to stop telling yourself that if I told my life to someone, it will become a book, it will become a movie. I think that attitude that, I'm going through all this drama and I'm going through all this hardship and my story is very unique is some sort of a victim psychology, I would say. But it's a position, like all entrepreneurs have to remember that you have chosen this. So you have chosen to wake up and conquer the world instead of working a 9 to 6 p.m. job. I'm not saying that's bad, but you have not chosen that, you have chosen this. So now you are living the consequences of your own choice. So acting like you're a victim all the time and trying to gather the world around. Do you see how I'm working until 3 a.m. and I wake up this early? It's none of our business. And nobody needs to care about this. It's your choice. You made this choice because you wanted to create something else. So I think one of the main things I can tell entrepreneurs to kind of drop the whole victim psychology, I would say. And then what you do is every day is going to be different. You just power through. That's what I learned eventually. In the last 6 years, there will be really good days. There will be really bad days, but we just power through. There's no magic. Some days will be terrible, but it's not going to be end of the world. It never is end of the world. It feels like end of the world during that time, but you're probably not gonna feel that feeling after 2 years, how it made you feel like. So you just power through, and that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last 6 years. And maybe one thing, just I know that works for us is that for entrepreneurs, when they have a team, I think one thing for them to understand is, I cannot emphasize on this enough, is that you have to be fair to your team members. And because this is so overlooked, I've just seen an example here, 300 people waiting in the hut to do a walk-in interview in a company. I was so shocked that people were treated that way. 300 people, scorching hot weather. They had their CVs in them because that real estate company, whoever they are, told them to wait for a walk-in interview. This is not the way to treat your people. Oh, my point is, I think my last advice will be this. You have to treat your people with a lot of empathy. And by empathy, I mean this. You're the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And there's the shelter, there's food, and then there's self-realization. What I see with many founders, especially at some stages where they kind of started becoming financially in a better position, they forget what it feels like to be at the shelter and food stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So they go to their teams. It doesn't have to be the founder. Think of the company as a persona. They go to their teams and they say things like, well, you need to touch the grass more, watch the sunset, hear the birds. Like, dude, I gotta pay my rent the next month. Right? I have to pay my rent next month. You are not paying me market prices. You are paying me under market. I am not paid fairly. I am super anxious how I'm going to put food on the table, how I'm going to pay the rent next month. And you're telling me to listen to the birds and touch the grass. It's because you get so mentally and emotionally disconnected. Because now you are at the self-realization stage, right? Like, what's the meaning of life? Well, not everybody is there. People are at the stage of paying their rents. So I think one advice I can give to all founders, all companies as a persona, stop being disconnected from your people's actual needs, which is providing and survival and taking care of their families. First, you need to take care of these. Then we can tell people to watch the rainbows. So point being, be very grounded and don't lose the empathy for your team, because you're going to be building this with those people, and you cannot ignore them. The way I see many people are being ignored every day, with unfair pays, with unfair leave days, just treating their people as numbers to be utilized, which they're not. These are human beings with stories. These are human beings with problems. These are human beings getting divorced. These are human beings with sibling fights. These are human beings with families in war-torn zones. These are human beings who are migrating to a new country, what to do next. These are people with stories. The worst thing you can do is be unfair to them while they are going through all the shit that they are going through. So my advice to every founder, like, level with your people, like, in an incredibly empathetic way, so that they are not numbers for you to utilize. Just remember, like, people have a lot of stories. So don't add extra anxiety into their existence. There's so much pain every day in the world. There are so many stories I sometimes hear, not founder stories, like human stories. There are so many stories that could be made into movies or books. Like, I'm sure my dear friend, my good entrepreneur friend, but, not every story is so unique in a sense that needs to be a movie or a book. So I think it's very helpful to snap out of this whole poor me and my dramas and the whole victim cycle. And you've chosen this, you just power through this. That's all you do. Every day you grind through it, you power through it because this is your choice. You've chosen this fight. So snap out of the victim thing. It's not gonna be a book, it's not gonna be a movie. Just build your company. You've chosen this path. Yes, that's how I look at it.
Great advice. Really, really appreciate you taking the time, being a great part of the community, and we're very excited to be a small part of yours today. So very, very well done. I'm always just the start, so excited to see the future.
I'm super happy, and I'm always grateful that Antler chose to become a part of this. Like, I don't say this enough, but I can say there are moments in my life that changed my life. I can easily say being in Antler changed my life. Like, Chris, I'm not exaggerating this. This is so real. Being part of Antler changed my life to a level that I couldn't even dream of maybe 10 years ago. So I appreciate you guys being part of this. Truly, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's great. And everyone who's listening and watching, go and buy Airalo SIM cards. It's the best service out there.